me, the light should be behind my camera. I'm good. I'm just going to if I still don't really have this behind me. This table is not really. And I have what?
Transitioning to a new provider.
We're transitioning from ministry tracker to servant keeper. More details to come.
Due to this transition, the text to give function is no longer available at this time. Please continue to give online. ALCCsow. ALCC. Here's what's happening at ALCC this week. Children's Church Update.
Due to necessary building renovations, the June 3rd start date of Children's Church has been delayed.
Please stop by the Children's Church table after church to register your children and or grandchildren so we can send you updates and plan amazing activities for your children.
Children's Church volunteers.
God tells us that children are a blessing and a gift.
Are you willing to be a blessing and a gift to the children of ALCC?
If your answer is yes, consider becoming a volunteer with the Children's Church Ministry.
We're looking for volunteers to donate their time one Sunday out of the month.
Volunteers should see Elder Geraldine Johnson immediately after service at the Children's Church table in the foyer or email g5052j@gmail.com. New church database.
Alert, alert!
The church database system is transitioning to a new provider.
We're transitioning from ministry tracker to servant keeper. More details to come.
Due to this transition, the text to give function is no longer available at this time. Please continue to give online via alccrichmond.org/donate or Cashapp $ALCCsow. ALCC. Here's what's happening at ALCC this week. Children's Church Update.
Due to necessary building renovations, the June 3rd start date of Children's Church has been delayed.
Please stop by the Children's Church table after church to register your children and or grandchildren so we can send you updates and plan amazing activities for your children.
Children's Church volunteers.
God tells us that children are a blessing and a gift.
Are you willing to be a blessing and a gift to the children of ALCC?
If your answer is yes, consider becoming a volunteer with the Children's Church Ministry.
We're looking for volunteers to donate their time one Sunday out of the month.
Volunteers should see Elder Geraldine Johnson immediately after service at the Children's Church table in the foyer or email g5052j@gmail.com. New church database.
Alert, alert!
The church database system is transitioning to a new provider.
We're transitioning from ministry tracker to servant keeper. More details to come.
Due to this transition, the text to give function is no longer available at this time. Please continue to give online via alccrichmond.org/donate or Cashapp $ALCCsow. ALCC. Here's what's happening at ALCC this week. Children's Church Update.
Due to necessary building renovations, the June 3rd start date of Children's Church has been delayed.
Please stop by the Children's Church table after church to register your children and or grandchildren so we can send you updates and plan amazing activities for your children.
Children's Church volunteers.
God tells us that children are a blessing and a gift.
Are you willing to be a blessing and a gift to the children of ALCC?
If your answer is yes, consider becoming a volunteer with the Children's Church Ministry.
We're looking for volunteers to donate their time one Sunday out of the month.
Volunteers should see Elder Geraldine Johnson immediately after service at the Children's Church table in the foyer or email g5052j@gmail.com. New church database. database.
Alert, alert!
The church database system is transitioning to a new provider.
We're transitioning from Ministry Tracker to Servant Keeper. More details to come.
Due to this transition, the text to give function is no longer available at this time. Please continue to give online via alccrichmond.org/donate or Cashapp $ALCCsow. ALCC. Here's what's happening at ALCC this week. Children's Church Update.
Due to necessary building renovations, the June 3rd start date of Children's Church has been delayed.
Please stop by the Children's Church table after church to register your children and or grandchildren so we can send you updates and plan amazing activities for your children.
Children's Church volunteers.
God tells us that children are a blessing and a gift.
Are you willing to be a blessing and a gift to the children of ALCC?
If your answer is yes, consider becoming a volunteer with the Children's Church Ministry.
We're looking for volunteers to donate their time one Sunday out of the month.
Volunteers should see Elder Geraldine Johnson immediately after service at the Children's Church table in the foyer or email g5052j@gmail.com. New church database.
Alert, alert!
The church database system is transitioning to a new provider.
We're transitioning from Ministry Tracker to Servant Keeper. More details to come.
Due to this transition, the text to give function is no longer available at this time. Please continue to give online via alccrichmond.org/donate or Cashapp $ALCCsow. ALC. Now welcome to the Abundant Life Church of Christ live stream, where our service is already in progress.
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Minister Shirley Crawford here at ALCC. And tonight I get the honor of sharing with you all something that I call Run the Play. Okay, so first and foremost, happy Juneteenth. I hope that you all had a great time to honor the holiday on this past Monday. And I start reflecting because I spent Juneteenth like listening to webinars and seminars and classes, like trying to perfect my craft, my skill. Like I'm a subject matter expert, but I'm always learning, always trying to get more information in. So that's a part of what I did on Juneteenth. And for me, that made sense because Juneteenth is a holiday about knowledge. It's not about the fact that a law was made. The law was made 2 years before that. The point is that on Juneteenth, the slaves in Texas, which included a lot of slaves from Virginia on over, because the slave masters were moving their slaves further and further away so they wouldn't have to set them free. So at that point, Texas had one of the highest populations of slaves because slave owners were moving them to Texas, right? So it wasn't about the fact that they were free. It was about the fact that now they knew it. There's so much to say in just that, but that's not where we're going. That's not where we're going. But I want to start there because knowledge is power, right? We receive information, we gain knowledge, but if we're not using it, it's nothing. It's trash. It's garbage. It means nothing at all. Okay? So that's why I try to make sure that when I have downtime, I really get a chance to utilize it to learn more, so that I can become more, be aware of more, and do more. Okay? So I belong to all these, mentorship groups and masterminds, and I am, paying a chunk of change to continue my education. And one of the favorite phrases of this group that I deal with is run the play. Right? So for you sports fans, you know what that means, right? It means take the information you know, now go make it happen. Okay? And so when we look at got the little graphic for you all here. When we look at a play, right? When we look at the play, it's got the X's and the O's, and there's offense and there's defense. And you know where you fit in, and you're supposed to run to the right or to the left or up or back or whatever the case may be. Like, that's how we make the play. That's how we run the play. So this team comes together, normally in sports, right? When we're talking about running the play, all right? And so everybody has the same goal. Do you know what the goal is? Do you? Type it in chat. Do you know what the goal is? It's to win. People don't come out and sweat and sacrifice to just, play for recreation. Like, people who are professionals at running the play are doing it for the outcome. They want to win the game. They want to win the Super Bowl. They want to win the World Cup, Wimbledon, whatever it is, they want to win. Second place is still losing. Just saying. Okay? So right now, I want us to run a play, right? And we're gonna run a play that I call the bridegroom cometh play, right? So if you got your Bibles out there, which I hope you do, if not, you got your smartphones, you can turn to it somewhere or another. I want you all to turn to Matthew 25. And I need you to know, I'm not going to tell you anything that's rocket science tonight, right? Most of the time when you look at a play, a kid can draw it. It's X's and O's and arrows. There's no rocket science involved. It's a matter of mastering the basics and then running with it. Okay? So we're going to go to Matthew 25, a scripture you've heard before. And it's the parable of the wise and foolish virgins. But for us, what's it called? It's the bridegroom cometh play. We're going to run a play. Okay? So I'm going to start to read it, but I have a lot I want to get to, so I might not read all the scriptures that I want to share. So make sure that you're taking notes, you're writing it down. You come back and watch the recording, you can see all the rest that you might not see now. Okay, so starting in verse 1, then the kingdom of heaven shall be likened to 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. See, play already being set up. Now 5 of them were wise, 5 of them were foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in the vessels with their lamps. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. Okay, so let's analyze this play. We got 10 players happening, technically 11. You include the bridegroom, right? And so each of these virgins, all on the same team, all shared the same exact objective, all had the same equipment. But some took care of their equipment, others didn't. So it didn't say that they were, foolish because they didn't have what they needed. They were foolish because they didn't maintain it. They didn't keep it. They didn't have oil. And apparently oil was simple enough to get. But they weren't taking care of the equipment that they were given. They had ample time and opportunity because the bridegroom was delayed. And somewhere they knew how, right? They knew they were supposed to get up and trim their lamp too. I'm getting that in a second. They knew what they were supposed to do, but they were sleeping. They just didn't do it, right? So even though they didn't have oil was readily available. They simply weren't tending to what God gave them. So then we get to verse 6, right? And a midnight cry was heard. Behold, the bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. So everybody knows what they're supposed to do with their equipment. And the foolish said to the wise, give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. They were still lit, but they were flickering. But the wise answered, saying, no, lest there should not be enough for us and you, but rather go to those who sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went out to buy, the bridegroom came. And those who were ready went in with him to the wedding, and the door was shut. Afterward, the other virgins came also, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, assuredly I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming. One of my favorite phrases, especially when you talk about running a play, is it really goes back to a Socratic philosophy or statement. But I like it the way that Andy Mineo says it in his lovely little rap. And it says, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Right? And so it's not a matter that the virgins didn't know the bridegroom was coming. They knew the bridegroom was coming. They just didn't know when, but they knew. They knew how to trim their lamps. They had the right equipment. They were in the right place at the right time, but they weren't ready. I know you know where that's going, but come on, we're going to hit another play. We're going to hit another play. Right? So right now, I want to run what I call the talent show play. Okay? So that's going to take us over. And so for the parable of the talents, right? Once again, you know these scriptures. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I really want you to think about like how to run the play and what it takes to run the play. And are you ready to run the play? Okay, so we're going to run that talent show play. And so for the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his own ability. And immediately he went on the journey. All right. And so the one who had 5, he traded them. He got 5 more. The one who had 2, he gained 2 more. He doesn't tell us how, but he gained 2 more. And then the one who had 1 went and dug a hole in the ground and buried it. Okay. So here's the thing to know about this play. This is not a play that's made with people that don't know each other and that their coach doesn't know. He's very aware of what their skill sets are, where they are, what they know, how they process, what they do. He knows and therefore gives them what they can manage, right? So a lot of times people look at me and like, oh, how are you doing this? And how are you doing that? And I have what I can manage. You're supposed to have what you can manage, but are you even using what you have, right? So when we look at this talent show play, all right, these are his servants. They were trained in his house, probably from birth. He watched them and he knew them. Okay, so when we look at, we move it on down, we're looking at verse 20. And so that's when the bridegroom returns, the Lord, the master returns, pardon me. And so they're showing the master what they did with what they got. So it's now show and tell, talent show time. Let me show you what talents I have. That's where we are now, right? We're running that talent show play. Okay. So the first servant says, Lord, you gave me 5 talents. Look, I have gained 5 more. Besides what you gave me, I doubled it. I doubled that. Okay. And he says, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of the Lord. Then the one who has the 2 talents steps up next and he's like, hey, I did the same. You gave me 2 and I maximized what you gave me. I doubled it. Right? Who doesn't want 100? Like to know that you have a return 2 to 1 for what you invest. There are no investments out there like that, like talking about it. It's not what you're going to get for your savings account. It's not what you're going to know that you're going to get $2 for every dollar you invest, or whatever amount that is. That's an amazing investment return. So he's like, yeah, I got 100% as well. I didn't start with 5, I started with 2, but I still got 2 times what you gave me. I still doubled it. And so, once again, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of the Lord. Okay? The part that I found very interesting is that the 5 and the 2 were few things. Now, that could have been as far as talents or money. In this case, talents, this is about finances. So it could have been that he gave one $5,000 and gave one $2,000. It could have been 5 million. The talents actually have a numerical value, but you get my point. Work with my point. Okay? But either way, they were just a few of the things that the Lord and Master had to offer the servants. This is just a test. As the song goes, this is just a rehearsal. Okay? And so this test was to determine the heart, the mindset, and to see if his servants knew how to run the play as instructed. Had already coached, had already done all the rest of it beforehand. Did they know what to do with the play? Okay? And the question for you is, what are you going to do with the few things that God has given you? Okay. We get to verse 24, and then it says, then he who received the 1 talent came, and he said, Lord, I knew you were a hard man, a hard taskmaster. He's coming up with his excuses. I'm going to share with you all my favorite poem. It probably shouldn't be, but it is my favorite. I learned it in 3rd grade from my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Sims. Excuses are tools of incompetence, built upon monuments of nothing, and those that specialize in them are seldom good at anything else. So he came with all his excuses and reasoning of, what? I couldn't. I was afraid. I didn't. And God is like, okay, you wicked and lazy servant. Because, once again, these are servants he's trained up in his household, probably from birth. You knew what I wanted. You knew how I wanted it. And I gave you everything that you needed. And instead of you getting up and at least putting it in a savings account and getting a little something, you did nothing. Right? So at that point, he's punished. And then they take the talents from him and give it to the one who has the 10 talents. Right? So I love this part in verse 29. For to everyone who has, more will be given. And he will have abundance. Abundant life, people. But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. Right? And then they cast him into utter darkness. I mean, talk about a punishment. This could have been a grand reward. He could have run that play. He could have made that touchdown that won the game. And instead, he's gotten booed out of the stadium. He is just gone. Right? And so when I look at that talent show play, once again, everyone has gifts, skills, talents. And the question is, are you using them? And here's the thing for you to know, the more you use them, the more you get. All right. So then we jump on down to verse 31, and it talks about the Son of Man and how he's going to be assessing what's going on in this world. Okay. And so he's going to separate the people into his left and to the right. And I want to jump down to verse 34. Then the king will say to those on his right hand, come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. And then they're responding like, Lord, if we had known you were hungry or in prison, we would have come. When did any of that happen? And he makes it very clear to them that inasmuch, it goes back to verse 40, and I'm at the end of it. Inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me. Like, these are his sheep. We're supposed to take care of his sheep, right? That's the commandment he gave Peter. It's a commandment for all of us, right? And then I get to verse 41, and he says to those on the left hand, depart from me, you cursed, into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angel. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. And I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. And one of the questions that I have is, how do you give what you don't have? So a lot of times, some questions you should ask yourself. When you see a homeless person on the street, like, how does that make you feel? So a lot of times we sit in church and we go, oh, I am like Christ, to be like Jesus. What would Jesus do? But let's be real about like your life and what it looks like on a day-to-day basis. You see a homeless person on the street. You sit and stare and evaluate as to whether or not they need your assistance. Do you think they need to get a job? Do you think they're just out there hustling? Like, what do you think? Right? And so scamming you or not, I don't know. What do you think? That's the question first and foremost, right? When we have ministers who come from around the world, we've had ministers who come from Africa and India, and they come and they say, we're doing great work in Haiti, but we don't have the finances to continue our ministry. How does that make you feel? Do you feel like this is a Sunday I should have stayed home? I shouldn't have had to hear that again. You feel like they're begging? Do you feel like, why is everybody always asking for my money? All right. These are questions. I really want you to consider these questions. All right. Because we're trying to run plays. But before we do that, we got to get our team together and figure out, are we on the same page? Are we after the same goal? Are we doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, what we're called to do? Okay. So here is something, just a little fact. When you have money, you don't get mad with people talking about money. So if someone says, hey, I need $20, blah, 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 blah. Well, if you have 6 figures in the bank, $20 isn't really impacting you. I mean, you might be Ebenezer Scrooge and a miser, maybe. But for the most part, like, you'll drop 20. You'll be out to dinner with people and be like, oh, I'll take care of the tab. Money isn't your issue. It's not the thing that's weighing you down because you have it. But when you don't have it, every time someone mentions it, you're looking around like, I know they don't expect me to be like, I'm going to put $100 into the basket. Or she can go somewhere with them Girl Scout cookies or popcorn. I'm not buying that. I need to have my money to pay my bill. And that might be your reality. But let's recognize where you are. And let's also recognize where you should be. Plain and simple. Okay? Because when you don't have money, you villainize it. And you think that everyone else who talks about it is, oh, they're not of God. Money. The love of money is the root of all evil. No one talked about loving money. We're not talking about bowing down to lucre. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about running the play that God has for us so that we can win. And what are we aiming to win? Souls. Because he that winneth souls is wise. But do you know how to run the play to even make that happen? Like, that's where we're starting off with these questions. Okay? So I wanna flip over just a little bit. You can let that marinate, meditate on that. But I want to flip over just a second. Because this chapter is the essence of everything I want to talk to y'all about today. Right? So I want to take a look at, okay, first I'll ask, who do you think is the greatest athlete in the 20th century? I want to say of all time, but I don't want to push it. Who do you think is the greatest athlete? Like, put that in the chat. Share that. Who do you think it is? So when people talk about the GOAT, which I don't know that I'd want to be called the GOAT. I know what it stands for. The greatest of all time. But yeah, a GOAT is stubborn, and that's not a sheep spirit. Anyway, generally speaking, when people talk about an athlete who is dedicated and consistent, there have been several of them. But a lot of times we reference Michael Jordan. Okay? And so in terms of thinking about Michael Jordan and thinking about the scripture we just read, that scripture, the first thing it's outlining for us is that we are a part of a team. All right? We might all have different functions, different roles, different responsibilities. You might be offense, you might be defense, you might be special teams. Whatever that is, we're still all a part of the same team. And if you're not a part of the team, salvation can be yours and you too can be a part of this team. Okay? But if you're on the team, then you have to actually now take the time to learn the plays, learn your role from your coaches, your leaders. Like, there are plays to be run. All right. Then we get to the next step of being on the team, and we have to, train. So it's not enough for me to tell you, here's the play. The play is, I'm going to give you all money, and you're going to go, and you're going to make money and bring it back. You notice that he didn't give them any instruction when he gave them the money, and he left immediately because he's like, you all should know this play. You've been training with me. You've been an intern. We've done the whole mentorship. I've done the apprenticeship. You have been right here by my side. You should know how to run this play. So go run it. It should be immediately, because that's what he did. He left immediately and left them to run it. Okay. So that means that we're trained and educated in the playbook. We know the plays. And then we take it a step further. We don't just know them, we do them. So I remember on one occasion we had, and I forget the gentleman's name, he came with Pastor Everett, and we had a whole training on how to witness to people. And it wasn't even all that complicated, right? Because a lot of times when it's time to witness, we get all like, they don't know what to say, or they're going to think I'm a weirdo. Well, technically you probably are, right? Because we're peculiar people. Okay. I'm not just calling you a weirdo to call you a weirdo. We are a peculiar people, right? And so in that, embrace it, accept it, move on. People are like crying out and we're going, I don't want to. But they'll tell you every story they know about every show they saw on television and everything else that happens. And we just listen and nod like like a garbage can, take all their stuff in and we give them nothing. Okay. So when we looked at the lessons we got from the gentleman, like when we took that, we had a Saturday, we came in, we learned how to witness. And it wasn't just, here are the plays. Here are the plays, let's go run them. It was that mentorship piece where you actually watched us, they were with us, you would try to go witness to someone, you would come back and say about what happened, you had a partner on the team with you, everyone knew the goal, everyone knew the objective, right? But here is the thing, if you don't practice, you forget. What you don't use, you lose. If you're not practicing the play, then when they say, all right, we're going to run the rebel yell. I don't know why that one. Sorry. It's a bad one. Okay. But we're going to run this play. If you don't remember the plays because you haven't been practicing, you haven't been studying, then you will be more of a hindrance than a help. That's just the bottom line of it. So on our own, we should be studying the plays. And then when we get the play, we should be practicing. So like that play, that Win Those Souls, that Wise Winner of Souls play, how are you practicing it? So we have all this instruction about how to do it. We have all these videos and information and instructors and leaders who are showing us how, but then maybe you go run the play with them once. Maybe you join personal ministry and maybe you come up and you learn, the Roman road and all the things you can share about salvation for the person who's getting saved. Maybe that's you. And then what do? Are you practicing on a daily basis? Are you going into the office and saying, oh, that's an opportunity. Let me witness. You got to practice the plays, right? So that when it's time, you're ready. And when you're preparing, you're practicing, you're preparing what you learned, sometimes you get sacked. Sometimes you go offside. Sometimes your souffle flops. Sometimes all kinds of things happen. But here's the thing. I was talking about Michael Jordan. After long, arduous, grueling, sweat-inducing practices, he actually stayed after practices and did 100 free throws. For some of us, that's all the practice is. We're going to do 100 free throws, and it's like, oh, I've done enough. It was never enough. And that's why MJ is one of the few people who can throw a free throw with his eyes closed. There's a YouTube video for that. I'm not sharing it. But actually, throw the free throw, eyes shut. Doesn't have to even see it. It is such a part of his muscle memory because he has practice. He learned the plays, ran the plays, and continues to run them so that whenever it comes up, he is ready in the clutch moment. All right? So, because we want to be ready for actual game day. We can go do it. As I said before, when we look back at that scripture, he went immediately and they took care of it. Okay, so all right, I got a little bit more, so I want to make sure I get to it, and I'm not gonna be the one going over our time. Okay. So are you able to go do what God would have you go do? Or if they say, hey, we want to take a group to South Africa. We want to go minister. We want to go downtown and put up tents and have a festival. We want to go, I don't know where. I don't know where God is sending you. But if the pastor has a vision or apostle has a vision, we should be able to go. But right now, we're still hindered by financial limitations. We let money, instead of being a tool, be the noose that holds us back. The chains that hold us back from doing what it is we need to. So I'm here to say tonight, let's let go of that. It's time for us to be profitable. Right? For those of you who don't know, I'm a small business consultant. I love to talk about your business, like utilizing your gifts, your skills, your talents, and being the kings and priests, right? Kings and priests. So yes, we want you to know your word and to be able to share it and be a witness and a tool, but we also need you to go make the money, be able to finance the needs of the church, be able to finance the needs of the mission that God has given to you without you having to sit back and going, I can't do that. I can't do that. So, okay. So, and sometimes when we talk about money, once again, I already said people villainize it like, why are you always talking about money? Well, because money answers everything. I'm not making it up. It's right here in the next scripture I'm about to share with you. Right. So one, I want to look at Luke 12, and I'm going to zoom through this because I really want to get you some information about ways you can be using the gift, skills, and talents that God gave to you to make a little money so that you can make bigger investments in the kingdom and also enjoy some of it as well. All right. So Luke 12 is the parable of the rich fool. And so here is the synopsis. There are these two. Jesus is teaching. And they rudely interrupt, or one of the brothers rudely interrupts and says, tell my brother to give me some of the inheritance. And every time I read this story, I often think to myself, who's being reprimanded? Who exactly is being reprimanded in this story? And so because Jesus responds, he's like, what do I have to do with your inheritance and your business? Why are you putting me in the middle of this? All right, so fine. So he proceeds to tell them the story about the rich fool, which we've heard before, but I really want you all to think about in context of everything else. Because one of the first things he says to him is, take heed and beware of covetousness. So to me, this is clear. He's talking to the brother like, you are coveting what your brother has. And once again, we all have what is designated for us. Are we maximizing it to make more? Are we profitable with what we have? Or are we just looking at someone else's stuff? Or do we have the 2 talents looking at the one with the 5 going, they got 3 more than me? But you can still multiply what you have and have the same percentage as what they did. Okay, so that's what's happening with the brother. And so he tells the parable, and basically the gentleman has, the rich young ruler, he has money and he's blessed to have more. And so he decides, I'm going to party, I'm going to celebrate, I'm going to have a good old time, I'm going to build more storehouses, I'm going to put more money in the bank, I'm going to invest more money over here so that my soul could be happy because I have more than enough for me, my 4, and probably no more, but I got more than enough for everybody, but that's all that I'm going to deal with, right? And so the response is the part we know, right? And so we get to verse 20, it says, but God said to him, fool, this night your soul will be required of you. Then whose will those things be which you have provided? Let's try that again. Fool, this night your soul will be required of you. Then whose will those things be which you have provided? So is he who lays up treasure for himself and not rich toward God. No one is saying that you can't have and that you shouldn't profit and that any of those things, but you should take care of God's house first. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added unto you, including that next big idea for the next big business. Okay? So then that takes me to Ecclesiastes 10. I had 16 through 19, but really, I really just want the last part of it all. Right? And it says, but money answers everything. Whatever it is you're looking to do and needing to accomplish, money answers everything. We don't have to hate the money. We have to use the tool wisely. So the question that I have, and then, if money answers everything, how do you answer anything without it? I'm just wondering. How are you going to run the play if you don't have any money to be able to be even in the game? Okay? And then you want to know, how can you make money not just to build bigger barns, but to be profitable to the kingdom? Right? So I have this little slide, and it's just showing about talents and gifts and Which you reap what you sow, right? But what you water will grow. Okay? All right. So that's your talents, your skills, your gifts that you're studying to show yourself approved, that you're practicing, that you're doing the workouts, you're doing the work necessary to get out of it what you want to receive. So just a moment to think, what are the gifts, skills, and talents that God has given to you? A lot of times we diminish ourselves and our abilities and our capabilities, the things that God has given to us. We like to make them small, right? Instead of watering them until they grow. They always say money doesn't grow on trees, but paper does, and that's what money is made of. All right? So Ecclesiastes 10:18 talks about the fact basically that unused things rot and are destroyed. So if you're not using the gifts, or if you're not using the skills, if you're not using the talents, it's the same thing, the same way that when you walk into a house that hasn't been open for a while, it has cobwebs. The paint is peeling off. Nothing has happened. It could have been perfectly new, but if you're not using it, you're losing it. Right? And so then when we look at 1 Timothy 6, I don't need to turn to it. I just want you to make a note of it. 1 Timothy 6, verses 17 through 21, it tells us the charge that God has for us on how to use our riches. The expectation is that we're going to have riches, right? That's the expectation, that we're going to have money. And then God is giving us instruction on how to use that which he has provided unto you, right? And we know, I always love to make sure we're clear. The love of money is the root of all evil, not money. That's 1 Timothy 6:10. So the question is, how are you refining, perfecting, using that what God has given unto you? So here is my favorite part. Okay. So every one of us has been given a gift at minimum. Gifts, potentially. Right? And for every gift that you sow, it opens a doorway to another gift and another gift and another gift. Until you get to the point where sometimes you're going to be like, oh, no more gifts right now. Right? But God has given each of us a talent. And my talent doesn't have to be anything like yours. Right? So now I really want you to think about, what can you do? One, what's the talent or talents that God has given to you? And answer that without minimizing it, without going, well, I can only sew. Are you serious? And this day and age, where people have forgotten basic skills, like people will go buy, like I know we used to talk about darning socks, all that stuff. I have no idea how they do that. People will go buy another pair of socks before they repair a pair. Well, we're getting to a point in time where those skills are going to be vital and necessary. So in turn, you could be paid to do what you think is something basic. Maybe you're a great cleaner, right? COVID made that really vital to have like deep cleaning happening. Maybe there's information you have. You write poetry. There's some information you have to share. Even your own personal testimony, your story. Like, look at all these movies we watch. They're written off of someone's life. Why not yours? You could be writing a book. There are so many ways that we can utilize the gifts, skills, and talents that we have. There are so many people watching YouTube and YouTube videos. And they're about everything. They are silly things. They're stupid things. They are, we always call it YouTube University. If I am trying to figure out how to do something, and I mean anything, like right now I'm really focused on learning AI. So in addition to seminars, because I'm still running that, education play, that coaching play, that networking play, in addition to that, I will go onto YouTube and I will watch a video that compares Bard to Jasper, or that breaks me down to learn more about the ChatGPT prompt. Or if I have to go, like, I know how to change my oil, but if I didn't, that's where I'd go. I had to change the, not the antifreeze, but the coolant in my vehicle. I didn't know how. My brother wasn't around. I went to YouTube University to do that. So if you have knowledge, information, things to share, you could be having a YouTube channel, which can indeed also make money. It makes money from ads. You can have other people run ads on it. You can be selling your product, your services, your business, whatever else you have going on. You can make, sell, buy. You and this way you're honoring and valuing the talent that God gave you, and you're using it. And then with that profit, you can now in turn help those in society who need those. You can now sow into church, and you don't have to look around like, who gonna give that? It can be you. You can be that cheerful giver. Okay, I want to show you all very quickly. When I'm consulting, I actually do a whole academy, and this roadmap is one of the things that I always start off with a new client or someone who is in business and looking to see what they should do next. And I want you all to think about it because I want you to be motivated to do something with the talent that God gave you. It should be profitable. So really, I want you to make some money. I want you to make money, and I want it to be that we'll be able to like trace it in tithes and offering, right? Because of course you're gonna give your tithes, your 10%, right? So first things first, when you have a business idea, we're gonna need you to vet that idea. This is the beautiful thing about being a part of a whole church. You have tons of people that you can use as your beta testers. You can find out, like, okay, for example, for those of you, I talk about this a lot when I'm at work, who have had my peach lemonade. Loves the stuff. Sometimes I'll make a peach tea, right? I have had people say, oh, if you sold this, I would buy it. And then I can even ask, okay, well, if you would buy it, how much would you buy it for? And then I can compare that back to how much does it cost me in energy, effort, time, thought, and product to make said tea. Is it worth it to me? And frankly, that's one of the ideas that's not worth it to me. But that's just an idea of what something that you could be doing. And you're thinking, well, who would sell tea? How many of you drive across town so that you can go to Chick-fil-A for their lemonade or go to Lee's, who has some actually very good tea, right? You do it all the time. Why couldn't it be yours? So you take your idea, you vet the idea. And then I want you all to do some basic steps of how to actually start a business. This is my favorite part, of course, because that's what I'm all about, small business consulting. So you're going to vet the idea. You're going to figure out, is there a population, a target audience that wants to buy what you're selling, what they want to buy it for, making sure it's at a rate that's reasonable so you can actually get a return. Because if it costs you $20 to make it, then you can't sell it for $20 because who wants to stay in business for that? There's no benefit out of that. So vet the idea, work that piece out. Then I want you to get legal. Now, this is when you're going to go to the State Corporation Commission. For us, if you're in Richmond, it's right downtown. And you're going to get your LLC, S Corp, C Corp, B Corp, whatever you choose to do. Most people start off with an LLC. LLC stands for Limited Liability Corporation. Why is this important? If you sell hair products, right? So I'm looking like, if you sell hair products, right? And someone puts it in their hair and their hair falls out. You got some ingredients from China. It turned out they were really bad. It made their hair fall out. We live in a litigious society, which means people will sue you all day, every day. If you are operating as a sole proprietor, and that means because you're here in the U.S., you're here in the United States, you can start selling things tomorrow. There are limitations when it comes to like food or other items, but for the most part, if you're making shirts, you can make your shirts, put them out there, sell them tomorrow, and you don't technically have to do anything as long as you are claiming your income on your taxes. Uncle Sam doesn't care, but I care. So the point of getting a limited liability corporation or any of the others, S Corp, C Corp, B Corp, etc., is that it limits your liability. So if someone sues, they can't go after your house, your car, your personal items. They can only go after the things that the business owns only. Which is a big deal because people love to sue, especially here. It's just a thing. So the first thing you want to do after you got the idea, you know what you're going to do. You're going to go incorporate. Here in Virginia, it's $100. It might change, but it's generally around there. So for the most part, you go file, it's $100. Now you can do it online and you can get it same day. It used to be you had to wait a couple weeks. Right now, if you go online and do it, you can get it same day. Otherwise, a week or two. Right? After you get that, keeping in mind, now you are an official corporation, which means that You're legit. Okay. Then you're going to go get your EIN, which is your employer identification number. I was going to get it right. EIN, employer identification number. It's basically the social security number for your business. You get it from irs.gov, absolutely free, costs you nothing. And it's what you use to open your bank account, which is the next thing that you're going to do. It's what you use when you're going to file your taxes. It's how you identify your business, your EIN. Now, as I said, after that, next thing is to open up a business banking account. You can get your business credit cards. You can get business loans. You can do all those things from that point. Here's the thing that makes this beautiful. So I have a trip coming up in October. I'm doing some classes down in Outer Banks. And so because of this, my travel is free. And I always stay extra days, either on the front end or the back end. I always stay extra. But now that trip is tax deductible. Period. So some of the benefits of now having your business is that you can write off space in your home. There are rules to this. I just want you to know the gist of it. This is not a tax consultation. This is information to let you know that for those of you who are looking for like tax write-offs or things that you can do, now here's a way to get some of your money back from Uncle Sam because you now have business expenses, right? So you started off with the idea, you got incorporated. Then you're going to get your EIN. You're going to open your business bank account. Then depending on what industry you're in, you'll look to see if you need to have business licenses. If you are not a physical location, more than likely you don't require a business license unless you are into hair care or other restricted areas such as food. There are restrictions and rules about where you prepare food, and aren't we glad that there are? You don't want someone cooking food when they have a cat right next to the plate where they're making your food. Right, there are restrictions and regulations there. You'll get your certifications, and then you'll also get your additional insurance. So above the standard limited liability, while yes, they can go off your personal information, they can't go off your personal items when you have an LLC, S Corp, C Corp, or B Corp. But if someone's suing you and they win for $100,000, do you want $100,000 to come out of your business? No. That's why you get business insurance. And business insurance is actually really not that expensive. Insurance, like anything else, is something you pay into and maybe never need. But if you need, you're glad you have. Because I always consider insurance like a savings account. I'm basically putting money away that one day I might need. That's it. That's the way it works, right? So you got your insurance. Okay, so for those of you like, okay, that's a lot to do a business. Let's make it a little bit simpler. I will make a note that as far as skills, talents, and gifts, I can crochet like a little Christmas lock. I used to do like a baby blanket whenever someone had a child, but there are people who do it so much better than me that I stopped. I look at like my niece Kirsten, she can make the most amazing things in crochet. And that could be you, right? So once again, whatever your gift, your skill, your talent, you can utilize that. You can monetize that. You can profit that. You can run that play, okay? And so if you're like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. Let me give you some basic places to start. Like I share that roadmap. That roadmap takes you through, and that roadmap I generally sell. So here, you're welcome. And so that roadmap that I put up shows you the steps of where you go, what happens next after you get, the LLC, S Corp, C Corp, and get your bank account, get your EIN. It takes you all the way through. So feel free to go back, freeze that frame, and look to see what the next steps are. But for those of you who are just like, I don't want to be overwhelmed and I just want to get started, right? Then there are some wonderful platforms out there for you, right? Etsy. If you've never used Etsy, ETSY, it is basically a custom homemade website. So for that crochet items that I was talking about, lots of shirts or designs, or it's a shopping platform. And while they take more of your money when you're posting items, it's because they also advertise for you more. Like you don't have to have an audience. You can just go there, put your things up. It's helpful if you advertise what you're putting up. But people type in keywords and going, I'm looking for a crocheted whatever, and Etsy will bring it to them and advertise the things that you have, right? Outside of that, the Amazon store. You don't have to just buy off of Amazon. You can sell on Amazon. You can set up an Amazon business account, which also applies for you who are writing books, right? You no longer have to get an ISBN number. You can, but you don't have to. If you're going to sell and it's just going to be on Amazon or it's just going to be a Kindle, you can go and join Amazon KDP or Create Space, I think is what it's called now. Set up an account and you pay nothing. You upload your book. Now, if you want to go to someplace like Fiverr and get someone to do your book cover or find a book editor or whatever the case may be, you might pay some expenses getting it created. But once you have it created, you can upload a PDF to Amazon and sell it, and they will take the money up front and you get your royalty check or your portion of the book sales. Right? How much easier can it be? Right? There are no more excuses for you. God has given you gifts, skills, talents, and there are places where you can utilize them. To start a YouTube channel, absolutely free. And you can be out there promoting what it is, the message that you have, right? The Facebook Marketplace, another option. So there are all these marketplaces, options that are out there. Now, if you're really going to do it full time, then yes, you should get into the marketing and you should get into the ROI and LIFO and FIFO. But just to get started, then just get started. And then you can join me on the next holiday and we'll all be sitting around watching webinars and seminars, which is what I do. Each and every weekend, I am mastering the plays that God gave me. And that's what I desire for you. All right. So once again, we're coming to a close, but I am really hoping that you all are not just listening and going, oh, that was cute. That was interesting. I'm really sincerely hoping and praying that you're going to run the play, that you're going to recognize the value of the gift, skill, and talent that God gave you, and you're going to go multiply it. You're going to come back and double what God gave you because you're going to go earn money on it. You're going to go learn more skills about it. You're going to learn all the plays involved. You're going to practice and run them and perfect them and utilize them and grow them. So that when we're sitting here going, this is a cute building, but I'm ready for the dome. We don't have to sit around going, well, how are we going to pay for it? Because we're going to have all these kings and priests who are out here with their side hustles, their full-time jobs. They're making the investment with the talents, skills, and gifts that God gave them. They're watering them. They're studying to show themselves approved. They're utilizing them to be able to build the kingdom and to be a prophet to the kingdom. Because we all know the real play is to win and to win souls. So, thank you all very much for joining us this evening here at Abundant Life Church of Christ. And speaking of money, I won't let it go without saying, don't forget to pay your tithes and your offering. I should not say any more than that. All right. All right. So once again, thank you very much. Go run the play. Until next time, be blessed. Good night.
Praise God. We trust that you have enjoyed the Word of God today. It's now time to give. Your committed and planned final gifts are vital to the ministry mission and maintenance of the Abundant Life Church of Christ. Your generosity and giving is greatly needed and appreciated. There are 5 ways to give. You can securely give online through our website at alccrichmond.org/donate. You may text to give by texting the amount to 804-315-3533. Give using the Cashapp. Our hashtag is ALCC. So that's $ALCCSOW. So, if technology is not for you, you can mail in your gifts to the Abundant Life Church of Christ, 3700 Goodell Road, Richmond, Virginia, 23223. Or during church business hours, which are Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and Wednesdays from 1 to 6 p.m. at the Laburnum campus, 3700 Goodell Road, Richmond, Virginia, 23223.